Welcome to an exclusive interview. V. Radha, IAS Commissioner, State Excise of Maharashtra. मैडम, इंडिया अनबाउंड में आपका स्वागत है। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, पिछले कई वर्षों से इंडिया अनबाउंड प्रशासनिक अधिकारियों के एक्सक्लूसिव इंटरव्यू हमारी मैगजीन और न्यूज़पेपर वेब पोर्टल चैनल पे करते आ रहे हैं, जो हमारे यंगस्टर हु वांटेड टू बी ज्वाइन यूपीएससी उनके लिए बहुत हेल्पफुल होता है। आपका हम स्वागत करते हैं। कैन यू रिकंस्ट्रक्ट योर चाइल्डहुड डेज एंड वेयर यू born and brought up?
Okay, that's it. You was born in Guntur, which is in Andhra Pradesh, and at the age of 5, my parents decided that they should shift to Delhi because my father had a job there in central government. And I lived all my life in Delhi, and after that I decided to do my civil services. So that is in brief if you want. And I did schooling in a very simple government school and did my education from Delhi University. I'm from Delhi University Hindu College. And I did my BSc Honours Botany, and then later I did my law, LLB, and then I practiced in High Court and then wrote my civil services.
Great. What inspired you to join UPSC?
Well, at the beginning I must say that I was very keen to become a lawyer, I must state that. And I in fact began practicing in High Court Delhi. But I found that the time required for a woman to be accepted in a system was far too long. And people didn't take you too seriously in those days. I'm talking about 22, 23 years back. And I was very keen to quickly get into a place where I could be able to play a critical and important role. So I found UPSC to be perhaps the fastest, best of reaching a position at a young age where you can actually direct, deliver at a very critical areas of development. And therefore I decided UPSC is the best way.
Okay. What are your memories of 1993 batch of IAS? Do you still meet your batchmates? How you celebrate?
I'm 94 batch IAS, and I must say that we are very good friends because we all began like college students. First time when we enter Masuri Academy, we literally are out of college, barely know what it is to be in UPSC. So there's a lot of bonding that happens in the 94. Today we have a huge WhatsApp group of 94, and on a daily basis we must be talking about what people are doing, where people are posted all across the country. And even today, if only one phone call away, you can talk to any IAS officer across if he belongs to your batch. And I think this is the rule for all IAS. Anywhere, anytime, you can talk to your batchmates. And therefore, the bond is very strong. There's a lot of learning and cross-learning. And we all depend on each other even today. Yeah, we keep meeting.
Okay. How do you take this opportunity in your career as Excise Commissioner of Maharashtra?
I think excise is a very challenging and interesting department. When I was given the charge, Honorable Chief Minister had very clear views on the subject. He said, computerize the department, bring it at par with other departments, make it transparent and make it efficient. So that was a mandate that was given to me. I joined about 4-5 months back, and I must say that we have been doing it mission mode on this process. And I believe in certain principles of governance which has held me in good stead throughout my 23 years of life, and I used very similar. I believe that the strength of the department should be harnessed. So I never put down a department, I make teams. So I love building teams. So my whole excise department has put together a computerization program which I think is the best in the country of excise department. So we will be launching it. We have already launched part 1 on October 2nd.
Okay.
We are the first one who has a toll-free number and a control room where every single vehicle which is there in whole of Maharashtra, I can sit here and watch. Just now some woman from Buldhana had come. Okay. So I was telling them I'm accessible on a toll-free or a WhatsApp number. So any complaint coming from anywhere, we are aware of this. Second is, at the end of the day, you want to motivate and inspire your teams. So we have taken up a huge program about how do I inspire, how do I do change management, because these departments are otherwise very away from the usual stream of management. So we said, how do you do? So change management. I'm doing an all women's training program because there are so many women in the system. So how do they do? It's like policing, but with a little bit of difference. We look at alcohol, which is a very major, and being the third largest revenue grosser for the state, we have responsibility to ensure transparency happens. So this has been a journey of learning with the department and ensuring, and I can say that I think we are on the right path. By 26 Jan, we'll be launching perhaps one of the largest computerization programs in the country.
Oh, great. You were tasked putting the Navi Mumbai airport to work on fast track when you were joined the MD CIDCO. Please brief us about little bit.
I think that has been one of the most touching experiences of my life. So when we began, the airport was scheduled to have begun about 15, 16 years before that. So the project was literally in cold storage. So one part of it, which I think even today is simpler, was to get all the approvals, because any mega projects requires innumerable approvals, and many of them we fast tracked and brought it to the process under the leadership of Mr. Sanjay Bhatia was MD there.
Yeah.
But more than that, the part two was talking to people, because I think any land acquisition proposal, the key aspect, anywhere in India people say land acquisition is important. I must say that today, we must be the only project in the country which has got 95% consent-based land acquisition, and we completed it in record time. In fact, in the beginning, it was impossible to enter the villages. So I remember going to that village on a Haldi Kumkum Karikram, because that was the only way they will accept, not as joint MD. So when you touch people's hearts, slowly but surely, you move forward. And today we can say the project actually has timelines of ending, which was impossible to speak when we went there 3 years back. So I think it was great project.
Recently, you said that the Excise Department launched an app to help citizens blow the lid of illicit liquor. So how it will help and how it will be useful?
See, one is that use of technology was what we talked about. We are talking about 5 technologies which are being put in place. To start, the first 2 I had already explained about mobile app as well as a toll-free number and a WhatsApp. And along with that, we say we are talking 3 things. To start with, CCTV cameras are there in almost all the factories which produce liquor. Even today they are there. It's not something new we are imposing. We're saying whenever it is made, how does it leave the factory? Because many a time something else leaves the factory. So we said all are going to be CCTV monitored. More than that, CCTV monitoring, you need a control room to look at that kind of, so you need data analytics for doing it.
Okay.
Once it is put in a vehicle, today our system is a constable sits and goes in the vehicle, and I don't think that's the most modern of systems. So we said we'll do everything on vehicle tracking system. Okay. So the satellite will monitor how the vehicle is going with the alcohol, has it stopped somewhere or the other, and even then, I must say technology is digital locks. So if a lock gets opened anywhere, it will come on the system. The lock has been wrongfully opened, because sometimes people stop a vehicle and remove the liquor there,
Correct.
and then the vehicle proceeds on the same thing. So there are digital locks which we have. We looked at HPCL and other petroleum companies, and we find that they have done. And then geofencing. So the vehicle can open its lock only when it enters a specified area. So this is called geofencing. So this kind of multiple technologies we have put in place with no cost to exchequer. Okay. The whole beauty of any system is it should be owned by the department. Whole supply chain management has been done by the department. These are the 4-5 things which I think are transformational and not done any other part of the India, and done without much cost, which is, I think, will be interesting to see as we do go forward.
Okay. There is a 10% rise in illicit liquor cases. What is your action to stop it?
In fact, there is a 10% increase in the total cases caught. I mean, that is the fact. So in fact, what we did afterwards, we tightened it so much that compared to last year, there's almost a 10% increase. I think last year it was about 35 crores. This year is 44 crores we have caught of illicit liquor. Okay. And very big cases we have caught. For example, recently we did a chloral hydrate, an addictive substance which is put in toddy, which is for supplying to rest of India, we found here in Nashik. So mega cases have been caught, and I think the rule is very clear now. Most of my staff now understand that you can't do illicit businesses. Every Haath Bhatti has been geo-referenced, because I said I use technology a lot. So everybody knows that which are those chronic Haath Bhatti spots. See, this aspect has a lot of importance, because you remember Malavani, 100 people died. So this can't be taken lightly, 106 to be precise. So we said we need to know where they happen, and coordination with police, because excise in comparison is very small department compared to police. So we reached out to police, reached out to forest department, because many of these illicit liquor is produced in forest pockets. True. So we reached out to railway police, which is important because railways are one of the biggest conduits of getting Konkan Railways, for example, Coast Guard. So we have, in fact, one of the views at Excise Department, it doesn't work alone, it works together. So we reached out to about 6 departments and said, these are the issues, this is where Haath Bhatti, it may be my primary job, but without their help, it can't be done. So with Sales Tax Department, we have coordination. So we have done not only policing, which is kind of, running after the thieves, but beyond that, we looked at paperwork and we found that many people are exporting illicit. So a lot of audit-based reviews have taken place, which has also yielded a lot of effort. I think the state now understands under the leadership of Honorable CM that Excise Department is bound to go to better heights by using technology, and ethically and high on integrity it will deliver the results.
Great. Have demonetization hits liquor sale in Maharashtra?
Well, I must say two things have happened off late which have certainly put Excise Department in a very interesting position. One is demonetization, which no doubt has had an impact on sales. Second one is a Supreme Court order which has come wherein all the highways, along the highways 500 meters, you can't have liquor shops.
Correct.
These two will certainly impact the Excise Department in terms of revenue. But we are bound to follow the Supreme Court's order. And demonetization was a temporary phase, but fortunately, thanks to my Vigilance Department taking very effective actions, we have been on positive rise of revenue in the last month, December.
You said that recently Excise Department revealed that deadly chemicals mixed with the toddy across Maharashtra. So, please brief us in details.
Well, as I said, the changes are not just about just taking the act of who is catching, transporting liquor, but we looked at policy level changes. As you know, toddy is distributed a lot in the state of Maharashtra. So one fundamental change which happened thanks to our minister, Mr. Bavankuley, giving leadership to it, because these are mega policy changes to do. We said we should not have toddy where there are no toddy trees. For example, Mumbai, you can't find a tree of toddy, but there were more than 200 shops here. So we said this, what does it happen? When in a city you have a toddy shop, then people mix chloral hydrate, which is one of very lethal addictive substance, which most of the poor tend to drink it before going for work. And the worst part is it's not alcoholic, it's addictive to a large extent and has tremendous, the mind becomes dull after having it. So after having looked at it, we did raids throughout the state before we realized that this is a widespread problem. So the toddy policy got changed. And we decreased the shops to 50%. Where there are no toddy trees, there will be no toddy shops. This policy was brought in force. So this, I think, is one major step. But the war goes on because these are illicit activities. People continue to do. We keep doing active supervision of them. But I think that we are in the right direction.
Okay. We find sometimes there are many ladies' dance bar and permit rooms are near the school and colleges. So it is putting very wrong impression to society. Still we don't see any actions from Excise Department to stop it.
I think I've raised a very important question, and I think both Honorable CM and our Minister are very focused that Maharashtra is actually a prohibition and excise state. In fact, it is not an excise, I'm not excise commissioner, I'm prohibition and excise commissioner. There are a lot of aspects relating to my job which actually has to look at what is good for the citizens and not just talk about revenue. And I think in light of that, 2-3 major steps and initiatives were taken recently. One was every village is having a Gram Rakshak Dal. In fact, every village the woman can come forward and control not only illicit as well as legal liquor. So this is one historic change which happened due to Anna Hazareji's constant guidance that we should do this. This got passed in the last legislative assembly. Second important thing that was done was country liquor, 12 bottles were allowed, but only 2 bottles have been brought by this government. For the reason that when people are allowed 12, then they set up small shops in villages, take these to sell there and also bring illicit liquor and sell it as small sublet shops. So we said the government took a view for country liquor, we should bring it to 2 bottles. Third important step, which I must say a lot of credit should go to our minister, he said shops should not be in the middle of the city. Shops, I'm talking about shops, which are vents. They are going to be shifted, just to prevent any confusion in our understanding. There are permit rooms and bars, which are different from shops. Otherwise there'll be confusion after the interview. There is a move to shift most of them outside the village limits. We're still talking villages because cities are far more complex to organize. Because here we don't have a Gram Sabha, so it's not. So we said we leave it to the democratic process. If people believe they don't want a liquor shop, state is ready to support. State will not look only from terms of what is the excise revenue being earned. And when I say it, it's an important step because we are the third largest. We earn almost 12,500 crores. So to take a step which is not revenue friendly, but which is people friendly, has been, I think, the whole idea behind and the whole government's views on this subject. In fact, I'm in Gadchiroli next week, wherein we are launching a campaign with Abhay Bangji, which is a search NGO. We're talking about say no to liquor, tobacco and drugs in the 3 districts of Maharashtra which are dry. That be Chandrapur, Gadchiroli and Wardha. The young people who are going in 9th, 10th, they themselves are taking to drinks. So we said, and somehow I don't believe in looking at life departmentally. Tobacco is not my subject. But I said we'll talk about all 3, because when you reach to a young person, I can't say I belong to liquor, so I will talk. So we said all 3 things are bad, and how they are bad. Because most young people believe it is cool. So we have to speak in their language and explain. So this module will get launched, and all the college principals of 2 districts are coming for a meeting on 12th at Gadchiroli. So department will think beyond. It will not think theoretically, where is the revenue, but look at the good of the people. And I think the question you asked, we have taken up so many initiatives which are not at all revenue oriented, but actually perhaps sometimes against the revenue also.
Correct. There are so many permit rooms here in near city also. There is a school, and even not less than the 100 meters there is the permit room.
So there are some shops which have come up prior to the rules coming.
Okay.
So the law doesn't allow me to close any shop which has come up before that.
Okay.
Whatever that comes new is bound by the new rules which are there. And I think with the Supreme Court legislation coming, many of the shops of state and national highways will anyway go away. So I think it will give relief wherever required.
Officers in excise department sometimes caught and take bribe, give licenses to liquor shops and permit rooms, and protect bar mafias. What is your action to stop such unkind activities in the department?
See, I have a 3-pronged approach to this problem. I worked in Octroi and BMC, so I understand how these revenue earning departments have their own challenges actually.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I have a more kind way of looking at it, not brand them as somebody who is corrupt or anything. Systems have to change, people will change once the systems will change. So first and foremost, we said all systems should be online. So there is no face-to-face meeting of people to clear files. So one major initiative has been make all licenses online. So this time, if renewal March 31st, nobody has to come and meet any of my superintendents. They can just file it online and the renewals will happen online. So this is one very simple but very doable step which we have taken up. Second is there's a change management. You need to talk up to people from the constabulary up. So we have taken up large change management programs which I was mentioning to you earlier. Third is you need to have an awards rewards policy. You have to give an award. If somebody has done a big catch, you need to give him a catch like it is done in narcotics department or in police. We need to. So we have gone to the government and said give an awards to my people who have done good work. So you have to motivate also. You can't just punish all the people.
No, exactly.
And fourth is they all know there's zero tolerance to corruption. I mean, my department very well understands. I was brought in also with the same image. So they understand, they cannot, we have taken action where it is required. But I believe in using, we don't want to spare the rod, but rod will be used only when it's required in extreme cases. And a lot of transparency we have brought in from the functioning from commissioner downwards. So I think sometimes the top man has to give leadership. So I believe that is my job to constantly speak.
After your appointment, there is a great message has gone to the department. And we people also heard so many things. Last year, as you said, that Maloney case, many people died due to the forced liquor. So your department is taking so many preventive measures. So how can we stop such type of tragedies in near future?
See, I think first is I always believe that there are 2 kinds of liquors that are coming which are very lethal. One is the one which is made in villages or wherever there are rivers and water bodies, people make this haath bhatti. There's a lot of money to be made in that. Firstly, the monetary, anybody can just sit with nothing at all. They break some wood from the nearby trees, just use it and use some very bad kala good, jise bolte hain, which is actually black good. So easily available raw material or molasses and make it and immediately sell it. And there's a lot of money to be made in a day with that. So there's a monetarily, and second, I must say, look at the whole problem, which is a long-term picture. The particular communities which are so poor that they're involved in this, we must talk about how to get them out of these businesses, because they are finding this as an employment basis. In fact, 1 or 2 times when I have accompanied my teams to do the raid, most of them are women. with small children who are doing it. So we must talk to them along with Social Justice Department. We may take an initiative to bring them out of this and give them alternate employments and other things. But the second type of crime is more serious. This is what I would look at kindly. But the other one is a liquor that comes from other states, Goa, Daman, Diu and other places.
Right.
There is a lot of illegal bottling units which are there all over the place actually. They just mix any liquor, put it in a beautiful bottle and even sell blue label, red label, Shivas, I mean, they look pretty same. I think nobody can make out in that sense. So those can be more dangerous because what is put in them and the way they move, because a bottle, even the empty bottle will be sold for 700 rupees because that bottle goes into illegal bottling units. So I think people who are buying very well know that what they are buying. In fact, last time we did a raid where we were asked the purchaser, because we caught him also, why are you buying it? He said, you look so stylish to serve in a party, blue label. I said, but you might be endangering the life of the people whom you are giving. Because what? So some amount of awareness. How many people get bottles from Goa knowing fully well? But how does it happen? So I think some awareness of the customer, some awareness from the people, what are the dangers. Hardbatti and all move a lot in slum areas where awareness is very less. The people are very poor. There we have a proactive role to help them understand the dangers. You put denatured spirit, people can die immediately on that. And it's always put in little quantities, which is always going out. Last time it came from Gujarat and it entered. So it's not just Maharashtra controlling. Even our borders have to be safe. If Gujarat, something comes in, it could lead to dangers. So we have a two-pronged approach, as I said.
Honorable Supreme Court has given verdict to ban liquor shops on national highways. Please elaborate.
Well, the order has been received just now and we are of course serious about implementation. There is a committee under Honorable Chief Secretary which will be meeting to understand what are the implications of it, of how many shops will be affected, and after we come to know it, because till March end these shops will continue, from April 1st whichever are those shops. In fact, all states are wondering, all states have read the order. Some of them are going back to Supreme Court to ask for clarification. We are still to decide on the course of action.
Hoteliers and bar mafias are appealing against the Supreme Court judgment. So claiming that decrease of the state revenue, unemployment, how to get the overall scenario?
As you rightly said, the wholesalers, retailers and others have already gone to Supreme Court and whatever judgment comes, it is not merely about revenue as I kept saying, but to look at it holistically, because when you remove some shops it may lead to a lot more illicit. So can the department control, because illicit always increases when you remove legal, illicit increases. So we need to have a very big plan of action to implement in letter and spirit of the Supreme Court, because Supreme Court said remove them, but illicit might increase. So gearing up the department to face the challenges, and also Supreme Court's own, if whatever others have gone to the Supreme Court, if any revised order is given, almost whole country is waiting to understand how to implement the law actually.
Ma'am, former Excise Commissioner Mr. Sanjay Mukherjee took the state's revenue 4,000 to 5,000 crore. So will Supreme Court judgment affect the state revenue?
Well, as on date it stands, I think it's a fair judgment. It will decrease because almost 50% shops may have to close down in the whole of the state.
Is there any plan by the Excise Department and the state government to make Maharashtra alcohol free like Gujarat and Bihar?
No, I don't think. It would be a policy decision. As on date, there is no such thing. But as you know, any village can come forward and become alcohol free. So today also, anybody potentially can come and do that tharav and go forward. So today, Maharashtra is very clear that if a village comes forward with an option of closing it.
Only village, not cities.
Only villages, because cities, as again said, Gram Sabhas and all don't exist.
Okay. Have you ever experienced any political pressure in your work?
Well, I think this is a question that is often asked to me. But the fact of the matter is, I think this is $1 million question which all IS officers are asked. But to be fair, I think I'm an outsider to Maharashtra. I have worked in almost all the good and important so-called districts. I've done very so-called. I don't think there is any pressure if you're very clear about what you want to deliver. And people quite figure out what you are like. On the contrary, Maharashtra has been a very good state. It always respected people who are honest, and I don't think it's at all adverse to people who want to deliver a good job. In fact, they want you. Wherever there's a requirement, in fact, I have always been in such jobs. I have great regard for Maharashtra's people and the political class. I don't think there's any concept of pressure. It depends upon whether you want to take the pressure.
Correct. What have been your landmark achievements in your career so far, madam?
I think it's a rather boring question because every IAS officer might have to say, but I think whatever lives on in the hearts of the people is the only thing worth mentioning. So I really don't want to mention except to say that when I was Aurangabad collector, there was a very big drought, as always it happens in Marathwada and many parts. So we talked a lot about water. And we talked about whether we can talk about water like Vihir, Punar Bharan and others. So when I saw thousands of people coming forward in the word of a collector, it was more a humbling moment for me that as a bureaucrat to a leader is a very tough journey to do, because it's very easy to sign a file and clear it, but to actually inspire somebody to walk with you on a journey of change, of development. And I think that would always remain with me as a reminder that people are very great. We need to help through bureaucracy instead of being red tape, but to help them achieve their greatness and to be a facilitator rather than anything else. So I would really not like to say anything more than that.
What is your prime focus being the excise commissioner?
As I said, I balance many roles as excise commissioner. At one side, the larger picture is I work for the good of the people of Maharashtra. The second objective is to earn revenue. The primary objective is never forgotten. That's why I spoke so much about how we are talking about empowering the local people, the common people, to talk against alcohol in case it is, they believe that there should be a ban of liquor. We should empower them. So one side, the state is actually empowering people to do that through Gram Rakshak Dals and other concepts. Second is, I think, educating people. You can't talk. You just can't stop liquor and say don't drink, because there's something which young people want to do. So to educate them. So we want to reach out to the young and talk to them. And third is empower my department to reach its potential by putting in better systems. So if these three broadly, if I can achieve during my short tenure, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay. Is there any role model you had in service who inspired you?
I think I have many role models, because each of the IAS officers I've worked with have brought in something very unique to the table, and I think I've had always exemplary bosses who brought in a lot of honesty and truth. I have many to speak about because I've had a long service, and I think it will be right to say there are many role models actually.
Okay. What are the other activities and hobbies you engage into the unwind, since you have such huge responsibilities?
I think I'm very family centric. I like to spend all my spare time going back home and spending with children, like all women do. All women do double duties. They do their office work, go home and take care. And spending time with family would be perhaps very high. Reading a good book would be my idea of engagement. I rarely watch TV. I don't have patience to watch TV to a large extent. But yes, reading a good book, going on a peaceful holiday with family would rate as one of my. And I like music a lot. So yes.
Which sport do you like?
Badminton has been my favorite sport. Yes.
Great. What suggestions, advice you want to give new students to inspire become an IAS, IPS?
I would only tell, first be sure why you want to get into IAS. If you're not clear why you want to, don't go by the so-called glitz and glamour of the service, but what is the content of the service. Because at the end of the day, you will feel there's a very high pressure job. It's a constantly changing job. Every 3 years or even shorter, I change my job. So there's a constant learning. There's a huge public interface. There are a lot of aspirations of the people you have to meet. If you genuinely don't want to do it, you'll not only be a failure, you'll be an unhappy person. So if you're genuinely convinced this is a job which requires a lot of inspiration from within, because many times it's pretty depressing, what you do does not stand. So if you're that kind of person, willing to take challenges, willing to match the aspirations of the people genuinely, not just do paperwork to do that, only then you come to the service. The service is very exciting. I would still say this is the best in the world. I can look back in 23 years. Both my brothers are abroad, but I would still rate it as the most satisfying career I have, because those were my choices which I made, and it's not so difficult to get in. You just need to have hard work, which is very focused.
Suggestions, advice you would like to give to the excise department, your colleagues and employee?
I look at my job not really as a boss, but as a first among equals. So they know they can be part of the team that will bring change. The change will come from within. I always believe whether it's an individual or an institution, the change will come from within. So I think the department understands that they will be part of the change along with me. I'm not an outsider which is bringing change and taking credit or leadership, but it's them who is changing and I'm only facilitating. And I want the department to realize how good they are, how capable they are, and they should realize their potential rather than get distracted by the other things. Finally, the most beautiful thing we all want in our life is respect. And you can get respect by doing very good work, which Excise Department certainly is one of the best to say that with such little manpower they produce 12,500 crores. It is not a joke. So my best wishes to them to reach the heights that they're capable of.
Great. What message you would like to give to the citizen of Maharashtra and our India-bound readers?
Well, I must compliment you. I keep looking at your magazine all the time, and you bring a lot of officers and they work to the people, because many times people don't even know what happens in bureaucracy. Many times people simply say some babu something. It is not so. The work is so complicated, the issues are so complex, and the work they do. So I must compliment you for taking the initiative to do that. My only thing is that India is a very complex big country, and it is a duty of bureaucracy to meet the aspirations, but somewhere people also have to come forward, because it's not just a one-way story that it will happen. So I think help bureaucracy by doing, because governments are now talking about transparent administration, effective. So NGOs which work with people should come forward, place the issues of people in a cogent manner. The change will happen. So don't lose trust. This is a long journey, a difficult country, a big country. So people, when they speak negatively or pessimistically about our country, I think they don't understand what a great journey this country has done, and we should believe the change will happen during our lifetimes, and that's my message to the people.
Thank you very much, madam. Thanks a lot. You have given your precious time. India-bound wish you a great success in your future, Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.